There are seasons when the air around you begins to change without reason. Someone who once smiled now turns away, their words sharp where they used to be soft. You greet them with love, yet the response carries chill instead of warmth. Many rush to blame themselves, but what truly unfolds is not always of this world. Relationships breathe through unseen currents, emotional, mental, and spiritual frequencies that interact like invisible threads of light and shadow. When those threads are disturbed, hearts twist, conversations sour, and peace quietly departs. In the unseen dimensions, jealousy and envy are not merely emotions, they are energies, dense vibrations that cling to words and intentions. When spoken or even silently imagined, they can cloud the atmosphere around a soul. That is why you can enter a room and feel tension before anyone speaks. Energy precedes language. And the adversary, ever cunning, delights in manipulating that current, planting discord where harmony once grew. He knows that if he can poison perception, he can separate what heaven joined. Yet God, in his infinite intelligence, placed mirrors of his nature within creation, elements that carry the vibration of his order. Among them, honey stands as a golden testament. It is not only sweet to the tongue but gentle to the spirit. Honey never decays, it preserves, heals, and harmonizes. In every tradition, from ancient prophets to Eastern sages, sweetness symbolizes alignment with divine flow. When you offer honey prayerfully, you are not conjuring magic, you are speaking the language of harmony back to the universe. You are affirming that love still reigns higher than conflict. This act becomes sacred when done with awareness. The honey is not the power, your intention is. Your faith activates the element, and your purity directs its resonance. As you pour, you are announcing to heaven that you reject bitterness and invite reconciliation. You are proclaiming that even where misunderstanding lives, divine sweetness will flow again. It is a ritual of spiritual physics, vibration replacing vibration, darkness yielding to light. Remember this, bitterness is heavy energy. It chains both sender and receiver. But sweetness is light, it ascends. When your spirit vibrates in sweetness, it rises above gossip, envy, and manipulation. The ritual of honey simply gives form to that truth, a physical echo of a heavenly principle. So when relationships shift inexplicably, do not panic. You are being invited to operate at a higher spiritual frequency, to speak peace where offense would have spoken pain. Now, as we journey deeper, prepare to learn how to use this divine symbol not as superstition but as sacred alignment, an ancient wisdom wrapped in simplicity. What follows will show you how to let God transform bitterness into blessing, not through force, but through resonance, intention, and faith. Every transformation in the spirit begins with awareness, a recognition that what you see with the eyes is only a fraction of what exists. The true battlefield of human connection lies in the unseen, thoughts, intentions, energies. Words may be polite, but energy never lies. When you feel a sudden shift in someone's tone, when love turns to silence and kindness to distance, understand, something spiritual has entered the field. Yet this is not a reason for fear. It is a call to spiritual maturity, an invitation to bring divine sweetness where unseen bitterness has taken root. Honey, in this sacred understanding, becomes more than food, it becomes vibration in form. Across cultures, honey has been called the light of flowers, the gold of the earth, even the breath of the sun made visible. In ancient Eastern philosophy, its sweetness was believed to carry the yang energy of harmony and warmth, restoring balance wherever coldness and resentment dwell. The mystics of India compared it to Amrita, the nectar of immortality, teaching that when the tongue tastes honey, the heart remembers compassion. In that sense, honey is a teacher. It instructs your spirit on how to remain pure even when wounded. When you pour honey in prayer, you are echoing an eternal truth, that love is an energy capable of transmutation. You are not manipulating anyone's will, you are invoking divine alignment. God's love does not control, it transforms. Through this act, you give heaven permission to intervene where your words can no longer reach. Each drop becomes a spiritual frequency, carrying your prayer through the invisible current that connects souls. But this must be done with intention, not impulse. God responds to order, not chaos. That is why before any ritual, the heart must be cleansed. You cannot speak peace while carrying warfare within. The hands that pour must first release resentment, the lips that pray must refuse bitterness. In vibration science, like attracts like, and in spirit, the law is the same. When your motive is love, your frequency harmonizes with heaven's. But when it is revenge or fear, you strengthen the very darkness you seek to dispel. That is why preparation matters. Set the atmosphere with reverence, as though heaven itself were entering your room, because it is. Turn off distractions. Let silence become your altar. Clean your hands, your face, your mind. Purity opens gateways that effort alone cannot. Gather the sacred tools, a jar of pure honey, a plain white paper, a clean plate, a pen. These are simple items, but in the hands of faith, simplicity becomes sacred technology. The spiritual realm does not respond to extravagance, it responds to sincerity. When you begin, do not rush. Whisper a short prayer of cleansing. Ask the divine to remove every trace of resentment from your heart. Say softly, Lord, sweeten what life has made bitter within me. Feel that prayer travel inward. The energy must flow through you before it can flow to others. Remember, this ritual is not about fixing another person, it is about transforming the energy that binds you both. Only when your inner waters are calm can God reflect His peace through you. Now that your spirit is steady and your environment quiet, you are ready to begin the sacred act of writing, the bridge between thought and manifestation. Take the plain paper in your hand. Hold the pen as if it were a spiritual instrument, because in truth, it is. The written word carries frequency. When you write a name, you are imprinting energy upon matter. So, breathe slowly and whisper a short invocation, God, may my hand move only in harmony with your will. Now write clearly the full name of the person whose heart you desire to soften, not out of control, but out of compassion. As you do, release every urge for revenge. You are not scripting manipulation, you are planting peace. Speak their name 3 times, slowly, and imagine each repetition sending ripples of light into the unseen. Feel your breath steady as love begins to replace tension. You may sense emotion rise, that is not weakness, it is purification. Tears are not of sorrow in this space, they are sacred water washing away resentment. Once the name is written, lift the paper gently and speak this prayer. Father of mercy, I surrender this connection to you. Where there is anger, pour peace. Where there is confusion, let clarity reign. Replace the shadow of misunderstanding with the radiance of your divine order. Hold the silence that follows. Feel your heartbeats sync with the calm rhythm of heaven. What you are doing is not symbolic alone, it is energetic. The frequency of surrender is the purest form of prayer. Heaven hears vibration before words. Now, bring your jar of honey close. Observe its golden glow. Every drop within it was once touched by light, by flowers, by bees, by the sun. It is nature's memory of sweetness. In Eastern wisdom, honey symbolizes the merging of opposites, labor and grace, earth and spirit, effort and flow. The bee gathers from countless blooms but creates one unified nectar. So it is with peace, drawn from many moments, yet distilled into one divine sweetness. Lift the jar and reflect, honey never debates with bitterness, it transforms it. Let that truth enter your awareness. You are about to do the same, to transform conflict through love, not argument. Before you pour, pause and see the person's face in your mind. But instead of anger, see them through divine eyes. Visualize light surrounding them, even if your heart once felt pain. This visualization is not fantasy, it is vibration alignment. You are choosing to see them as heaven sees them, already healed, already at peace. If your eyes fill with tears, let them fall freely. They are liquid prayers. Each tear declares, I release the pain, I choose peace. Your emotional surrender signals to heaven that you are ready for restoration. Feel that softness take over your spirit. You are no longer a victim of misunderstanding, you are a vessel of reconciliation. Now set the paper before you and place the honey beside it. The preparation is complete. The heart is open. The air around you shifts, still and reverent. Heaven is listening. What comes next will not just heal a relationship, it will recalibrate your spiritual energy to attract favor, harmony, and divine alignment. You are about to pour not just honey, but healing. Take the jar of honey into your hands. Feel its gentle weight, the silent wisdom it carries from the hive to your altar. Understand that in this moment, it is no longer just a jar. It is a vessel of light, holding the frequency of peace itself. Whisper softly the name written on your paper 3 times, each time slower, softer, more surrendered than before. Let each repetition strip away another layer of pride, of pain, of resistance. You are not summoning that person, you are summoning peace. Now, as you hold the honey above the paper, speak with calm authority. In the name of divine love, I release sweetness upon this name. I command every current of bitterness, misunderstanding, and hostility to dissolve under the light of God's presence. May this heart be touched with grace, may this connection be healed with truth, may this name be surrounded by favor. Begin to pour the honey slowly over the name. Watch its movement. It does not rush, it flows. Each drop carries intention, turning prayer into form. Observe how it spreads and covers the letters, like mercy covering imperfection. That is how divine restoration works. It does not shout. It moves silently, patiently, until no space remains for resentment to live. As the golden river flows, speak again. Father, let your sweetness replace every bitterness. Let your peace conquer every war. Let divine understanding settle where human pride once ruled. You will sense the energy changing, within you and around you. The air thickens with stillness. The weight of the moment deepens. That is not imagination, that is the shift of frequency. Heaven responds not to noise, but to vibration, and your prayer has entered that resonance. Take a breath. Place your right hand gently over the honey-covered paper. Feel the subtle pulse under your palm, it mirrors your heartbeat. Whisper quietly, Lord, let my name, when spoken by this person, taste like honey. Let my presence remind them of peace, not pain. This simple declaration rewires the energetic cord between you, turning friction into flow. Now pause. Sit in silence for a moment. This is the holy stillness between action and manifestation, the womb of miracles. Visualize a golden light radiating from the honey, expanding outward like ripples on calm water. That light represents divine reconciliation traveling through spiritual currents to reach the one whose name lies beneath your hand. Trust that heaven's messengers move faster than words, carrying the frequency of peace to every corner where your name has been wounded. When you feel that release, whisper your gratitude. Thank you, Lord, for hearing the vibration of my heart. Gratitude seals the energy like wax on a scroll. Without gratitude, prayer remains open, with it, the declaration is finalized. Now, gently lift your hand. Look at the honey. It glistens like sunlight caught in amber, a reminder that sweetness endures, that divine love never expires. You have not performed magic, you have performed alignment. The unseen world has heard. Heaven has recorded. Remain still. The atmosphere around you is sacred now, charged, alive, vibrating with quiet grace. What has been spoken in the spirit is already unfolding. Yet your next movements must carry the same reverence, for every gesture continues the prayer. Place your hand once more over the honey-covered paper and close your eyes. Speak softly. Lord, I release control. I trust your timing. I invite your peace to dwell where my words cannot reach. Feel those words sink deep, not as sentences, but as energy, steady, luminous, and calm. What happens in this moment is unseen but not unheard. Divine intelligence begins its work immediately, rearranging circumstances, softening hearts, redirecting paths. Now, gently fold the paper toward yourself 3 times. Folding toward you represents drawing peace, love, and reconciliation into your life. Each fold is a statement of faith, that you believe harmony can return, that you receive it, that you are ready for it. Do not rush. Feel the movement. As you fold, whisper. With each fold, I pull peace closer. I pull favor nearer. I draw love back home. This simple act transforms into sacred motion, a language older than words. You are speaking to creation in its own tongue, gesture, intention, vibration. When the 3rd fold is complete, place the paper in a safe and quiet place. You may keep it for a day, 3 days, or until you feel the spiritual atmosphere shift. The length is not ritualistic, it is intuitive. The Spirit will tell you when the work is done. Each day while the folded paper rests, pray briefly over it. You do not need long prayers. Simply say, Father, let your peace continue to work. Let sweetness fill every space where bitterness once lived. Then thank Him. Gratitude is spiritual oxygen. It keeps the energy alive. When the right time arrives, you'll feel it as a gentle release. You can either bury the paper in the ground, returning it to the earth that transforms all things, or burn it as an offering of release, saying, Lord, I thank you, for you have turned bitterness into blessing, and conflict into calm. As the smoke rises or as the earth covers the folded note, know that heaven witnesses your surrender. You have turned pain into prayer, and prayer into peace. In many sacred traditions, from Christian mysticism to Taoist philosophy, fire and earth symbolize purification and grounding. By completing this step, you are releasing attachment and sealing transformation. Now sit quietly again. Feel your body lighter. Your chest unburdened. The energy of forgiveness radiates outward like warmth from a hidden flame. The ritual has completed in the natural realm, but its resonance continues in the spiritual. Even now, angels of reconciliation are moving through invisible corridors, touching hearts, arranging encounters, and opening doors that misunderstanding had closed. From this point forward, your task is not to force outcomes but to maintain the frequency you've just established. Guard your thoughts, protect your words, and nurture your peace. For what has been planted in light must not be watered with negativity. In the days that follow, do not seek signs, instead, become one. The true measure of this ritual's power is not in how quickly the other person changes, but in how deeply you transform. The moment you poured that honey, heaven recorded your obedience. From that instant, the laws of divine correspondence began to work on your behalf. The spiritual realm does not operate on human urgency, it moves through divine alignment. You may notice small shifts, a dream, a sudden sense of peace, or a release of tension when you think of that person. Sometimes they may reach out unexpectedly, or perhaps they remain silent, but the energy between you is no longer hostile. Understand that change often begins in silence. Honey works quietly. It doesn't shout, it seeps. It saturates. That's how divine energy restores what was fractured. Every thought you think now either nourishes or sabotages what you've planted. The honey ritual is not only an external act, it is a mirror. It reveals whether you truly trust God or still cling to control. When you gossip, doubt, or curse the one you prayed for, you pour bitterness back into the sweetness you created. But when you choose silence, gratitude, and calm, you continue the work heaven has begun. Remember, the power of this act was never in the honey, it was in the vibration of peace that flowed through you. The honey was merely a conduit, a physical echo of spiritual truth. Now your words and emotions must remain in alignment with that same energy. Speak blessings. Every time their name comes to your mind, whisper, "May peace surround them." By doing so, you keep your own energy pure, and purity attracts miracles faster than impatience ever will. You may also feel changes within yourself. Where once there was heaviness, you'll feel lightness. Where anger sat, you'll sense compassion. This is not weakness, it is strength refined. The heart that can forgive carries the highest frequency of divine power. Even science confirms that the human heart emits an electromagnetic field thousands of times stronger than the brain's. When it beats in love instead of resentment, it literally alters reality around it. That is why true miracles begin inside. In Eastern philosophy, this transformation is called metta, loving kindness that dissolves karmic knots. In Christian mysticism, it is agape, unconditional love that transcends merit. Both describe the same principle, that love is not passive, it is active spiritual fire. When you release it, heaven multiplies it. So, walk gently now. Let your presence carry the fragrance of honey, invisible but unmistakable. Be kind even when unrecognized. The ritual was never meant to end at your altar, it was meant to continue in your daily vibration. Every word of kindness you speak, every act of patience you choose, extends that sweetness into the world. And when doubts whisper, remember this truth: what has been offered in faith cannot return void. God never leaves love unanswered. In time, every seed of peace will bloom in its perfect season. In the unseen dimensions, energy never disappears, it only transforms. That is why the spiritual work you've done continues long after your prayer has ended. Each word you spoke, each drop of honey that touched the paper, now vibrates in the field around your name. Heaven heard it, and the universe carries it forward. Divine peace, once released, begins to travel through unseen currents, touching minds, softening hearts, shifting circumstances. Sometimes, these changes manifest quietly. You might find yourself thinking of the person with gentleness instead of resentment. Or you may suddenly feel indifferent toward what once hurt you. That's not forgetfulness, it's healing. Peace doesn't erase memory, it redeems it. It turns pain into understanding and conflict into clarity. Do not be surprised if the relationship doesn't return in the same form. Some connections are not meant to be restored physically, but spiritually. The goal is not always reconciliation, it is release. When energy is purified, love no longer clings, it blesses and lets go. If they reappear in your life, welcome them without pride or nostalgia. If they do not, thank God that peace has replaced attachment. The honey ritual teaches you this paradox: divine sweetness flows best through surrender. You cannot command love into being, but you can create an atmosphere where love feels safe to dwell. That is your real task, to keep your internal world aligned with divine harmony. Every day, renew this awareness. When you wake up, say quietly, "May my words today taste like honey." Let that be your mantra. Speak kindly to yourself first, for self-criticism poisons the soul faster than envy ever could. You cannot pour sweetness into another's life if bitterness drips from your own thoughts. As ancient sages taught, the cup that overflows must first be filled. From now on, treat honey as your reminder. Each time you use it, in your tea, your cooking, or your prayer, remember the vibration it carries. Let it remind you that God's love does not spoil. It remains pure through seasons of silence and storms alike. If bitterness ever tempts you again, recall the image of honey flowing slowly over the written name. That is divine timing, gentle, patient, inevitable. The flow may seem slow, but it never stops. Even when unseen, it moves. So trust the process. And if conflict arises elsewhere, in family, work, or friendship, don't rush to defend yourself. Instead, center your breath, whisper a short blessing, and visualize honey spreading across the situation. That visualization alone realigns your frequency with peace. Energy obeys imagery guided by faith. This is how masters of spirit live, not by fighting shadows, but by radiating light. Every act of love becomes a silent decree that says, bitterness has no dominion here. You now walk in that authority. Your energy has become your prayer, and your calm has become your weapon. As it is written in Proverbs, gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. Let your every word now carry that same healing power. You have become the honey, divine sweetness in human form. There will come a moment, perhaps days or weeks later, when you suddenly realize the air around you feels different. The heaviness that once followed you has lifted. Conversations seem lighter, people smile more easily, and even the person you prayed for may act unfamiliar in their gentleness. Do not question it, simply recognize it as evidence that heaven has moved. When divine peace takes root, it seldom arrives with thunder, it comes as a quiet correction, a realignment so subtle that only the discerning heart perceives it. This is the mystery of spiritual energy, it works in resonance, not resistance. What you poured in faith now echoes through dimensions you cannot see. In vibration science, this is the law of coherence, the aligning of frequencies until disharmony cannot remain. Spiritually, it is God's response to a surrendered heart. He does not rush, He restores. You may also sense a deeper calm inside yourself, a feeling that your soul has exhaled. This is the sign that the divine transaction is complete. The bitterness that once occupied emotional space has dissolved, replaced by something softer, steadier, sacred. When you feel this peace, protect it. Guard it like a treasure. Negative words, gossip, and anxiety are thieves of vibration, they cannot coexist with the sweetness you have invited. In Eastern wisdom, the sages teach that when you reach inner stillness, heaven begins to move outwardly. That stillness is not apathy, it is divine alignment. You have entered what many call wu-wei, sacred non-resistance, the state where you no longer force outcomes but flow with grace. This is where miracles happen quietly. Relationships heal themselves, opportunities appear naturally, and favor follows you without effort. If the one you prayed for reaches out, receive them with humility, not pride. You are not to remind them of their coldness or pain, you are to demonstrate the peace that healed you. When you respond with gentleness, you confirm to heaven that the lesson has become life within you. If they do not reach out, release them fully into divine hands. Sometimes God restores connection, other times He restores closure. Both are mercy. Understand, too, that this ritual was never about manipulating destiny, it was about partnering with it. By pouring honey, you declared yourself a co-creator with heaven, shaping your reality through faith and intention. You realigned your energy with divine sweetness so that wherever your name is spoken, it resonates with favor. Now, each morning, before you face the world, anoint your mind with a single thought: I carry sweetness in my spirit. Let it set your tone, guide your interactions, and influence your speech. Even if someone speaks harshly, your peace remains untouchable, for you no longer react, you respond from light. And as night falls, whisper gratitude again: thank you, Lord, for turning bitterness into honey, and silence into song. Gratitude maintains the frequency that faith creates. What began as ritual has now become rhythm, the rhythm of divine harmony flowing through your life. As the days unfold, you will notice a quiet authority settling within you. It is not arrogance, but spiritual confidence, the calm certainty that peace is your natural state. You no longer chase reconciliation, you embody it. Every environment you enter begins to mirror the vibration you carry. Strangers are drawn to your serenity, conflicts dissolve before they reach your door, and even those who once opposed you feel disarmed in your presence. This is what happens when divine energy has been properly anchored. You have become a living altar of sweetness. The honey you poured was only a reflection of the essence now flowing through your spirit. The ritual did not make you powerful, it reminded you of who you already were, a vessel of divine harmony. In every tradition of sacred wisdom, there exists this truth: what you bless, blesses you in return. When you poured sweetness, you invited heaven to multiply it. And so it does, not in the noise of miracles, but in the quiet rearranging of your reality. Even nature begins to respond differently. The atmosphere of your home feels lighter, your rest becomes deeper. This is because energy follows intention. The peace you declared now inhabits your surroundings. In spiritual science, it is said that human vibration can shift molecular structure, and faith amplifies that power beyond comprehension. When you live in sweetness, your very breath becomes prayer. But beware, the enemy of peace often seeks re-entry through memory. Old wounds may resurface, not to harm you, but to test your stability. When this happens, do not engage in inner debate. Simply remember, you are the honey. Bitterness cannot coexist where sweetness reigns. Whisper softly to yourself, peace remains. Every time you do, the vibration of calm expands, pushing back the shadows. There is profound discipline in this spiritual path, the discipline of stillness. True mastery is not in performing many rituals, but in living as one. You no longer need to pour honey every time conflict arises, for the energy of the first act lives within you. Faith is not repetition, it is remembrance. Once the sweetness has been declared, it continues to work in silence. In the scriptures, the promised land flowed with milk and honey, symbols of divine nourishment and perpetual favor. That was not only a promise for geography, but for consciousness. You are that land now. The Spirit flows through you in abundance that cannot spoil, favor that cannot fade. Walk through your days with this quiet knowing, that even in a world of noise, you carry the sound of stillness. When you speak, your words heal. When you move, your presence softens. You no longer have to convince others to see your worth, your vibration speaks louder than explanation. And if ever you doubt again, return to the golden image of honey flowing, patient, luminous, unstoppable. That is the image of divine love at work in you. Now, as this teaching comes to completion, understand that the ritual was never about the honey, it was always about awakening the divine frequency that lives within you. The physical act was the key, but the real door was your heart. You did not just pour sweetness onto a name, you poured it onto your destiny. You declared that you would live in alignment with heaven's vibration, where bitterness cannot dwell, and love becomes your language. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply. With every inhale, imagine drawing in light. With every exhale, imagine releasing heaviness. Feel your body as the bridge between heaven and earth, the sacred vessel through which divine harmony flows. You are no longer reacting to life, you are co-creating it with intention. The energy that once scattered has gathered again, calm, strong, luminous. Now whisper this prayer of sealing. Father of all light, I thank you. You have taught me that sweetness is not weakness, that peace is power. Let this frequency remain in my words, in my home, and in every connection tied to my name. Where my feet walk, may harmony follow. Where my voice speaks, may healing flow. Let every thought I release taste like honey in your presence. Pause. Feel the vibration of those words settle in your chest. This is the moment of spiritual sealing, the point where what was intention becomes identity. The ritual is complete, but its echo continues. Every time you act in kindness, you reactivate the sweetness. Every time you choose forgiveness, you magnify it. The energy expands beyond you, touching others who never even knew they were part of your prayer. If you ever feel conflict stirring again, do not return to the ritual out of fear. Instead, return to awareness. Close your eyes, recall the honey's glow, and remember, you are now that glow. Speak softly to yourself, peace abides here. Let those 3 words become your shield. The world may send bitterness your way, but it will melt before it reaches your spirit. You have become untouchable, not by force, but by frequency. This is the wisdom of the mystics and the saints alike, to transform pain into prayer, and prayer into peace. What began as an outer act has become an inner nature. You are no longer waiting for others to change, you are the change. And when your energy is anchored in divine sweetness, even adversaries are turned into allies by the invisible hand of grace. So walk forward now, radiant and grounded. Wherever you go, carry this truth. You don't chase favor, favor recognizes you. You don't demand love, love flows through you. You don't fight darkness, you outshine it. Take one last deep breath, smile gently, and whisper, "It is done." Heaven has heard. Peace has answered. And the sweetness you released will never spoil.